It's been 4 days since the monumental announcement that new legendary equipment was going to come to Rise of Kingdoms. And although the developers have said, okay, we're going to reevaluate this and get back to you, the original plan is that they were just going to put better patterns in events like Holy Knight's Treasure and Hunt for History. And the impact of that is getting a pattern today is just going to have less stats than a pattern you could get sometime not too far in the future. So lots of people are obviously messaging me saying, Chisgule, please help. Do I do Holy Knight's Treasure? Do I do Hunt for History? What am I supposed to do? So stick around in this video for my thoughts on how to prepare for what the new equipment system might ultimately be. And also, I will share with you a message from VIP support showing exactly how strong the new equipment looks. Whew. I mean, yeah, all hail the new meta. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and if you didn't see my video that was about 30 minutes long explaining in depth the significance of the originally proposed equipment changes in Rise of Kingdoms, I'd strongly recommend that you check it out. Alternatively, if you missed that video, the short summary of sort of what was being proposed is that new patterns would be added to the game. The old legendary patterns we had would no longer be the best patterns. And still, if you want to dismantle the legendaries you've made, you're going to lose half your legendary materials. That's how the system works today. And so obviously players pushed back and the developers were like, okay, we're going to rethink this and get back to you, which is good. I think that was a great choice. But I do find myself wondering if whomever crafted this message realized that the moment they said that new patterns will be released into Holy Knight's Treasure and new patterns will be released into the Hunt for History, that it completely changes the way that players need to think about those events today until new equipment arrives. So now all of us are left wondering, and like, this is a video I had not planned to make, but I have so many people messaging me going, Chisgule, bro, what the heck am I supposed to do now with the Holy Knight's Treasure? What the heck am I supposed to do with Hunt for History? So I do have a clean answer for you, but first I want to show you exactly how much better new equipment will be. Now, it's hard to say because the developers are rethinking it and they're reworking it and who knows what they're going to do. But I have a message sent from one of my Legendary Guard members, that is Davos. And big shout out to him or whomever collected this information. But thank you to Davos for sharing it with me. I'll put it on the screen. According to VIP support, and I assume this message is authentic, the attributes of the new equipment will be about 30% higher than the previous attributes. Hello. 30% more stats is freaking huge. So yeah, I mean, I could spend my gems today and get this pattern, right? That gives me 15%. Or I could spend my gems a couple months from now and get 20%. And I believe they said that the material cost of the new equipment is the same as the current equipment. It just has more levels. So I don't know if that's what the developers are going to do or how they're going to look at the system. I'm glad they're rethinking it because the more you look at it, the more it's like, man, like to keep players happy, there's obviously got to be a lot of thought that goes into that. I won't rehash what I shared in my previous videos about really easy ways to make new equipment fun in the game. Because let me tell you, we all want to see new equipment. We actually all really want it. We just don't want, to lose half the legendary materials we invested into things that we were sort of showed as being best in slot, only to, I don't know, how often am I going to throw away how many thousands of dollars worth of materials to get the newest thing, right? I don't know. Without getting into all of that, let's talk about who actually can spend on Holy Knight's Treasure and feel good about it, and who should pump the brakes, right? And, in my perfect world, the answer will be, well, everyone should be able to enjoy this event, right? Because that would be really great design, to just be able to enjoy this event until the new system gets here. But, the announcement with the system and the way it was designed, that's really not the case. And I'm not trying to be difficult, but, look, a pattern with 30% more stats, yeah, I want that, especially because the materials for legendaries are unrecoverable, right? So let's talk about this for a minute. If you're free to play or low spend, even spinning to 10 no longer holds the value it once held. It could be that the developers will follow a suggestion similar to what I proposed, which is to make an upgrade path from existing equipment to new equipment. And I do sort of feel like, isn't this a solved problem? Like, there surely have been other games that have created equipment system upgrades that the players of those games love, right? So, like, can't you just yoink from other places the systems that are known to be really good? So, anyways, my thought here is that these patterns could have zero value in the future. So if you're gem limited in any way, it becomes unsafe to go for the patterns. And even the materials we assume will be relevant based off of the message, but it could be that they add a new upgrade material instead, or they'll just make it so that existing materials are used to upgrade. We really don't know how that's going to go. So even the materials are a bit of a question mark to me, even though they feel more safe than the patterns. Now, because materials still feel relatively safe to me, although I have some uncertainty, I think that if you want materials, you need materials, then this is a fine event to do. And Holy Knight's Treasure in general is such a good high value event. I think this is the highest value gem spending event in the game. I think this is the most reasonable event for a high spender or Kraken to say, yeah, I'm just going to spin anyways. And, maybe I need the patterns, maybe I won't. But even if I just get materials and speed ups and other things, I probably just do this event anyways, and it's super worth, okay? So in that regard, I think Holy Knight's Treasure is probably safe for spenders. The other thing to consider is that the update only talked about weapons, helmets, chest, legs, gloves, and boots. It didn't talk about accessories. So here's my read on this. If I'm the developers, I'm going to add better accessories later, bro. I mean, if we can add higher level stuff in other slots, you better believe I can add higher level accessories too. Why not, right? So even the accessories are not in imminent danger of being replaced because the developers didn't mention accessories at all, but they could be a candidate for replacement, which again is like a little bit alarming because depending on how that goes, look, these cost 120 legendary materials. Okay, 60 legendary materials is what will be returned to me if I dismantle this. Okay, that is 60 legendary materials at 2,400 gems a pop. Okay, you divide by 25,000, multiply by 100. Okay, that's $576 worth of materials if I have to be dismantling accessories. So even accessory patterns, even though they aren't imminently listed as something that they were considering replacing, I think are still even a little bit risky because we just don't know if and when new accessories will come out. But if you were to go for any pattern, I think accessories are your best bet because that is the most likely to be not influenced in the short term from this update, okay? So high spenders and Krakens, yes, on this event. Low spenders, free to play, save your gems, because look, if they add a new pattern in the future, you're better off just having more gems in the future, assuming that you can be patient and wait, which, given the message they sent, the obvious player response, I think, is, oh, I'll wait for the new stuff because it's just better, and I don't want to lose half my legendary materials, right? So that, I think, covers the Holy Knight's Treasure. But the next thing we need to cover is the Hunt for History. Now, the Hunt for History is interesting because this is an event where you get hammers, and the hammers that you get can sit in your inventory. So even though I don't have the Hunt for History now, when I have Hunt for History in the future, my hammers apply. Ooh, well, this is interesting, right? And there's sort of something obvious brewing here, which is that, okay, so maybe, I can't guarantee this because who knows what the developer's going to do, but maybe the play for Hunt for History is to hoard all your hammers. And I would even consider two strategies for this, depending on your spend level in the game. And I just want to be really clear in my guidance here, which is that we don't know what's going to happen. The developers could reconsider a lot of things, okay? We just don't know. But what could happen, okay, is that the developers continue forward and they say, all right, we are still going to put the new patterns in the Hunt for History. I think it's likely they will. I get the impression from their original message that they're really trying to redesign very little about how you get equipment and just give us new equipment, right? So if they continue on that path, and it seems like they want to, then I would say that you should hoard all your hammers. If you're free to play, low spender, pay to win, or Kraken status, I would say get no patterns from Hunt for History, but do accumulate as many hammers as you possibly can. Because then boom, new stuff shows up sometime down the road, and you are freaking swimming in hammers, baby. You can get all the freaking equipment you want. That's the play I would take, right? So everybody should save hammers. Now, depending on how confident you are and how okay you would be with all those hammers being worthless if new equipment does not go in the hunt for history, then I would say as a big spender or Kraken, you actually should be buying the bundle and spending the maximum number of gems to get hammers so that you can have as many hammers as possible, okay? So free to play, low spend, get your hammers free to play. Maybe don't spend any gems at all on the hammers. But big spenders, you want to get as many hammers as you possibly can so that if new patterns show up, you're like, boom, I got 2,000 hammers. Let's freaking go, baby. Let's freaking go. I am ready. Okay, and even if, look, the way that event works is often there's like a limit to how many pattern pieces you can get of your desired pattern. Unlike Holy Knight's Treasure, where like theoretically you could get an infinite amount, not exactly infinite, but like, you know, you could get the 10 spot on every spin. The game doesn't actually stop you. There's no limit to the number of pattern pieces you get. In the Hunt for History, there's typically only 30 pieces, 30 pattern pieces there. So, you know, it may be that you can only recoup your hammers over the course of many hunts for history. Again, I don't want to like promise this as being some great hack guaranteed to work. I'm saying saving your hammers is a risk. Buying the bundles proactively is a risk. Spending your gems proactively is a risk. It could all be worthless. But I probably will be doing some combination of those things as a bigger spender so that I can get a jump on the newer equipment. Maybe. But we just don't freaking know, man. And at the end of the day, that's really the big question mark. And the thing that is, I don't know, left the whole community wondering kind of what do I do with my equipment in this new view of the world. And, you know, the other thing that leaves me as like a bit of a head scratcher is that like, okay, we had no precedent set for like power creeping legendary equipment, which is why everybody's losing their mind, right? But we also have no precedent set for power creeping into armaments. And it just leaves me kind of like wondering, like, could these be power crept too? And like, maybe, but I hope they'd give an upgrade path instead. And technically, but every time a new update comes out where more stats are available, that is a nerf to all other ways that you get power. I want to re-explain that to make sure you understand. Every time the developers increase the power of one power providing system in the game, they have decreased the effect of all of the other power providing features of the game. So what that means is that equipment will make a bigger portion of your total stats than they did before, right? Which means the impact that armaments has is slightly diminished relative to the amount of punch it was giving you before, because now you've got more punch committed to your equipment. And in general, I think that's a good thing, because anytime we increase the punch of something that's not crystal tech, it decreases slightly, ever so slightly, the sort of relevance of crystal tech. It's still super relevant, right? So, look, all this to say, I am beyond hype for new equipment. I want to give all the praise in the world for a new equipment system that players will love. And I can't wait for the developers to share their sort of rethinking on this and how that will change. And I think, did I miss another system message? I did. So here's the other message. I knew there was another one. I can't believe I didn't favorite it. We're going to reevaluate the updates in the equipment system announcement and make adjustments. Based on your feedback, we overlooked the long-term nature of equipment upgrades. Yes. Which has resulted in the possibility of acquiring better equipment for the same cost, which is unfair hugely. The design has led to the depreciation of old equipment and aggravated the decline of the account's value hugely. Blueprints redeemed with the conquest coins and other levels are suddenly stripped of their purpose. Totally true. Spent iconic crystals are wasted. We'll continue to collect your feedback and suggestions regarding the equipment system update. Yeah, if I were to like pull this back a level and really, look, every time I'm in a conversation, I'm like, give me the forest, right? These are some trees, but the forest is, you want players to emotionally invest in the game. And anytime you have signaled emotionally invest here and then kind of pull the rug on that investment, players are going to, of course, feel upset, right? So I feel like the main objective of game design is to keep players emotionally invested and enjoying the things that they are caring about, that the developers have signaled to us in the past that we should care about, right? The developers have signaled you should care about equipment. You should care about iconic crystals, right? You should care about conquest coins. And so I think this kind of summarizes like, right, okay, we see now how we undermined the thing we told you to care about. That's my sort of looking at the forest view of this whole thing, right? So they say, to ensure the viability of the adjusted plan, we'll invite some of you for an online discussion to collect your views. I love this. I think this is an 11 out of 10 critical step. You know, look, I used to work in R&D and product development, and the way that I approached that is that I always wanted to determine what my riskiest assumptions were for a new product or service, and then do the fastest learning possible to try to figure out if those assumptions were right or wrong. And like the fastest way you can figure out if a new equipment system will be liked by players is to talk to some players, right? Like it's very obvious that you'll get some quick feedback. Now, players may not always be able to give perfect information about how a system should be designed, but they can tell you what they do or do not like. So players are very bad, in my opinion, at telling you how to solve the problems that the developers and designers of the game should be solving, but they are very good at telling you about how they feel about what's happening, right? So the release time of the updated equipment system will be fixed based on the finalized plan. Please stay tuned. Materials will be returned, or materials to be returned will be issued as soon as possible after the adjustment plan is finalized. Look, I have a lot of confidence that the developers will land on something really awesome, especially because they're going to talk to players before they do another big announcement, I think, which is really, really great. So I think the developers are going to release something eventually that we're all going to love. To the question of how we handle Hunt for History and all of the equipment-related stuff in the meantime, I think, unfortunately, we have to exercise just a huge amount of caution in order to protect the value of our accounts until we really know what that looks like, right? And at that time, we all go hog wild to get the new stuff, because who doesn't want more stats for war? And speaking of war, yo, we got a pass opening coming up, okay? We got a big pass opening coming up in this KVK. It's going to be freaking hype. I'm going to be live streaming tonight. It's so late at night. I mean, look, our allies wanted a different time. We're like, all right, cool. Man, this pass opening's at 11 at night, baby. So that's what we're doing. 11 at night, the pass 7's open. We're in Warriors Unbound, which, like, I have thoughts about this KVK, but it's definitely for a different video. So we're going to have to get to these passes, and it should be very interesting. And people are getting ready for Kingsland. These passes are going to be attackable as well. Should be some big fighting. So subscribe if you haven't already. You're not going to want to miss the action. And also subscribe if you want to know when the best equipment is available and what you should do. And if you want to watch that full video where I kind of break down, like, hey, here's the changes the developers are working on, I'll have a card in the end screen in just a minute where I break down the sort of proposed changes the developers had. And if you want to see the best free-to-play equipment that's unlikely to change, right? Like if you're newer to the game, card will be in the end screen for that in just a second as well.